Hello once again, and thank you for joining us. This is the Space Nuts podcast, and my name is Andrew Dunkley, your host, and joining me for episode 260 is someone completely the same. It is Fred Watson, astronomer at large. Hello, Fred.
Hi, Andrew. How did we get to 260? For goodness sake.
I don't really know. But it's great. It's really a thrill.
It is. It's fantastic.
And I think we've created something of a kindred community when you look at the social media interaction between people. And I want to send a shout out straight away to my self-appointed police force on the Space Nuts podcast group Facebook page, because they are on ready alert for any infiltrators who are trying to spam us, and they get on them pretty quick. So good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Now, coming up, we will be answering questions, which we were going to dedicate the whole episode to, but we've got a couple of things we want to talk about first, so we'll do that. But we got questions from Richard on the Sunshine Coast, Mark in Newbury in the UK, Doug from Seattle, and Thomas in Orlando. And if you're all going, geez, I sent those questions in months ago. Yeah, we know. They've been on the back burner, and because we don't think we give the text people a fair tilt on Space Nuts, they're all text questions. So we'll get into those and some really fascinating topics too, I might add. Before we get to our first story though, Fred, are you still in lockdown? I heard they're going to extend the lockdown in Sydney.
Indeed we are, yes. We were originally going to be locked down till Friday this week, but now it's been extended till Friday next week, which continues to stuff up arrangements that we've got here. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's all right. It's all in a good cause.
I suppose it's unavoidable. They've got to haul this in. They've got to deal with it. And I know it puts a few noses out of joint. But the good news is I'm no longer in isolation. My time is done.
That's right.
And
good, yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not in Sydney, I can go back to the radio station, which sounds nice, but it actually smells rather putrid because the cold weather has driven the mice inside.
Oh, no.
So
Andrew.
it stinks like you couldn't believe.
Oh, God, that's awful.
Yeah, I'm fed up with them. I am fed up with them.
Yeah.
They are just, they're not going away, the little
horrors.
beggars. Now, let's get into our first story. This I heard on the news today on our radio station. It looks like we've got a space race on for young and old, particularly old, because it's not your traditional Russia versus America to the moon space race. This is Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos trying to get into their orbital spacecraft first. Yeah. And the way I'm looking at it, the bookies have got short money on Richard Branson at the moment.
Yes, that's right. They have, according to all the various announcements that have been made. Excuse me. So we've got a very esoteric record-breaking record to be set here. The first billionaire into space with their own spacecraft, and it's between Richard Branson of Virgin Galactic, Jeff Bezos of New Origin. His company is Blue Origin. I beg your pardon, not New Origin, Blue Origin. And so just the quick background that both of these companies are aiming to take tourists on suborbital flights above the Earth's surface to about 100 kilometers. So an up and down trip to 100 kilometers. But they do it in different ways, as we've spoken about before. But just very briefly to reiterate or to recap, Branson's Virgin Galactic operates with an aircraft essentially to take the space vehicle up to round about 16 kilometers, maybe a little bit higher. It's a 4-engine jet, very unusual form, 2 fuselages and a place in between them where you can hang the rocket plane. Get up to 15 or 16 kilometers, release the rocket plane. It fires its rocket motor, which accelerates. It only burns for, I think, 90 seconds. But in that time, it whizzes you up to roughly let me think. Yes, about 1 kilometer per second is your. I'm just doing the calculations in my head. A little bit more than 1 kilometer per second, which is not high enough to go into orbit, but it's enough to poke you up very rapidly to this height of 100 kilometers or so. And once the rocket motor cuts out and you're coasting upwards, that's when you're weightless. You reach apogee, the highest point, fall over again, and you're still weightless until the rocket plane starts deploying its brakes, which actually means bending up the rear end of the delta aerofoil, and then it lands like a glider. That's the Branson method. The Bezos method with Blue Origin is a lot more straightforward. Your capsule is sitting on top of a rocket, which simply sends you up, once again accelerates you to that, typically a bit more than 1 kilometer per second upwards. The rocket falls away, your capsule keeps on going, and then lands with parachutes once it's gone through the same process, going up to apogee and falling back under weightlessness. Once the parachutes are deployed, then you start feeling accelerations again. The reason why I wanted to mention this, though, today, Andrew, is because the first planned flight now is probably going to be before our next broadcast or our next podcast. Wow. With Branson scheduling a flight. I think technically he said not before the 11th of July, but everybody's putting the 11th of July in the diary, oh, that must be it. Whereas the Bezos first flight with Jeff on board is currently scheduled for 20th of July. And so the race is on. Who knows whether everything will go well? I don't think it really is a race. And I have to say, both these companies have been extraordinary in the attention they've paid to getting everything right, because this is a difficult thing to do, to take people into space. The last thing you want is an accident. They've already had one. Virgin Galactic lost one of their test pilots several years ago. It might have been 2014. It was quite a while ago. The inside story from people closely connected, certainly NASA people I've spoken to, say, and I'm sure the same is true of Blue Origin, but they say that Virgin Galactic is exemplary in the way it deals with all the issues that need to be looked after. Branson is going to be, I think, the first and paying in inverted commas customer, because even though he owns the company effectively, he's not actually a staff member. So they've had to do all the clearance, the requisite legal clearances to fly with passengers, because he counts as a passenger. And so that all went through last week, as I understand it. So the road is clear for Branson to make his flight sometime. My guess is it'll be next week sometime. You never know quite with weather and things of that sort. It will actually be the 22nd flight of their rocket planes, but not the 22nd to reach the edge of space. They've had 4 flights that have done that. The Blue Origin process has been similarly extensive in its testing. The 2 Bezos brothers will be the passengers on the mission, along with a person called Wally Funk. Do you know who Wally Funk is, Andrew?
It rings a bell for some reason.
Yeah, she is one of the original Mercury 13 crew members.
Wow.
The team of female astronauts that were trained up and passed all the requisite, tests and everything for them to be able to fly with the Mercury capsules back in the early 60s. Wally Funk was one of them. I believe she's 82 now. So
I think the reason that name rings a bell is they portray her character in the TV series that Amazon, I think, was running. And I'm just trying to think of the name of the series now. It's just dropped out of my head. But For All Mankind.
Okay.
For All Mankind. Yes.
Right.
So Yes, she's someone's playing her character in that. Yeah.
Okay, so that there's a link there if that's on Amazon, of course. Jeff
I think it's Amazon. Yeah. It might be Apple. Actually, I think it's on Apple.
Might be Apple, yeah.
I can't keep up.
Never mind. So the spacecraft is the New Shepard. It's essentially an up and down rocket of the kind I've just described. The great thing about the Blue Origin technique is that, like Elon Musk's SpaceX Falcon 9 spacecraft or launch vehicles, Blue Shepard lands on its tail. It doesn't just fall back to Earth and go bang. It lands on its tail, and so it can be reused. It's really an extraordinary process, and really interesting that we've got to this point in time where within a fortnight, the two main contenders for space, for space tourism, are on the point of making their first, what you might call, commercial flights.
Yes, it's extraordinary, and of course you've been to the space drome, haven't you?
The Spaceport America. That's right.
Spaceport America. That's
in New Mexico. It's a place called Upham. That's the little village, which I think is amazing. But it's near a town with the extraordinary name of Truth or Consequences, and there's a story behind that. That's the nearest town, and once the spaceport becomes really fully operational, which it will eventually, Truth or Consequences is going to be the place you go and take your hotel accommodation there until you make your flight.
Yeah, they must be thrilled that this is all starting to happen.
What they're less thrilled about is that it's taken so long, because I think that spaceport was built probably 7 or 8 years ago. It would have been, I've got a feeling it was 2014 when we visited it, so quite a while back.
Yeah, but look, you can't really knock them for taking so much time, because safety is the primary thing. So we wish them well, and we'll wait and see what happens, and hopefully all will go perfectly. And
Sorry, Andrew, I was just going to say, won't it be nice for us to be able to report on something that's been a year in the future for the last decade or so?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right, we wish Jeff and Richard well in their exploits. Now, let's just quickly have a talk about this story. It's to do with Mars, got nothing to do with American or Chinese rovers trundling around on the surface trying to stop P-platers from overtaking them. No, this is about water. And it looks like there may be lakes under Mars' South Pole.
Well, that was the original story, and you and I have spoken about this several times.
I thought we had.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to remind you.
Thought we had.
Back in 2018, it was scientists who were looking at data from Mars Express, which is the ESA spacecraft still in orbit around Mars doing great stuff, which was saying that they were getting really strong radar reflections from a layer, I think it's about 4 kilometers beneath the surface of Mars's south polar ice cap. And that was essentially interpreted as being reflections from a subsurface lake. And there have been others since then, other radar reflections. So the reason for that is that a water ice boundary is quite a strong reflector of radar signals. And so, that's the most direct interpretation. There's a bit of physics that had to be done as well, though, because, of course, the temperature on Mars near its poles it's over 100 degrees below zero. And at least on the surface it is, maybe deep down, because of the pressure of the ice, it's more like 70 degrees below zero. This is Celsius I'm talking about here, minus 70. And so it's not just the pressure of the ice that's keeping the water warm, if it's there, and by warm I mean minus 70 degrees, but also the fact that people assume there will be dissolved salts in it, these perchlorates, which are like a natural antifreeze, and which lower the freezing point of water by a huge amount. So that was the thinking, that maybe that there are these perchlorates in the water, and that's why it's there. However, new research, in fact, 2 lots of new research, one by I think their university, is it Arizona State University, that's in fact, he's a graduate student who's led this work, which is fabulous. Aditya Kula is her name. I think that's how you say it. Finding, first of all, lots and lots of similar reflections, but what they're finding is that these are in areas that the physics doesn't work to keep them warm. They're areas that are too cold for that water to remain liquid. And there's another team of scientists at Arizona, once again at Arizona State, which has been looking at what else there might be. And this news came out first. This was released last week. It's that they have worked out that if you've got certain sorts of clays, maybe some metal-bearing minerals, or even really salty ice, slushy ice, you might get the same strong reflections, rather than this being water. So the idea of it being liquid water in lakes has kind of gone off the boil a bit. We're now thinking it might be clays, or it might be a slushy, sort of thick, icy material that's got minerals in it. We're not sure. It's like a lot of science, Andrew. You have these great ideas and you think there's, great evidence for what you see, but because we can't go and touch it, you bring other ideas to bear, and suddenly things have changed. So we really don't know now what this is all about, whether there is just some sort of cold mud down there, or or whether there really is liquid water. And the fact that there are lots, they've got, the new work has included many, many measurements that show literally thousands of these higher reflective areas. So if it is water, then it's everywhere, or perhaps more likely it seems that it might be something else. So we really don't know. It's a really interesting impasse in a way. There's another paper that came out a couple of years ago that once again threw into doubt the idea that just pressure and perchlorates could keep this water liquid. This paper said that the only way you could explain liquid water under the South Pole would be if there'd been recent volcanism heating up the subsurface ice in that region. So it's looking less likely that we've found lakes under the South Pole of Mars, which is a pain because it says in my new book that we found lakes under the South Pole of Mars. Fortunately,
last minute edit.
It's not too late. That's right. We're doing the copy editing right now, so I can change that.
That's somewhat of a disappointment. Instead of crystal clear water, we've got bogs.
Bogs, that's
bogs.
Right. Swamps.
Yeah.
Swamps under the ice.
Oh, you can't call them swamps anymore. They're wetlands.
Wetlands, of course. Yes, I'm sorry. Well, damp lands might be what it is, not wet.
Yeah, possibly so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure down the track we may hear more about this as they study more and more evidence, and maybe one day mount a mission to try and figure it out for certain. But
I'm sure that'll happen.
A lot of ice to get through. Yeah,
there is,
All right. We'll get on to the questions very soon. You're listening to the Space Nuts podcast with Andrew Dunkley and Professor Fred Watson.
Space Nuts. You've been listening to the Space Nuts podcast. Available at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast player. You can also stream on demand at Bytes.com. This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com. Space Nuts. You've been listening to the Space Nuts podcast. Available at Apple Podcasts.